Morning people, it's Andy the Expedition Hiker, and today we're doing a bit of a local walk really. It's one I aim to do over lockdown but never go around to doing it. So we are in Long Eaton at the moment and we're going to walk the Nutbrook Trail. It's for walkers for the first 6 miles, then from there it is open to cyclists and horse riders. The route overall is 10 miles, so hopefully you'd like to join me as we walk it. So we'll eventually end up at a place called Heanor. Okay, so let's get going. Nutbrook Trail, which follows the Nutbrook, a little stream, and then that connects into Nutbrook Canal, which is disused. Then we'll follow it up through the old colliery towns of Ilkeston and to Shipley Country Park, and then heading up to Heanor. So the busy roundabout in front of us is the official start point of the Nutbrook Trail. Asda is on our right, so if you need to pop in for refreshments to start, it's the perfect place to do so. So we've walked along this footpath. I think we've actually come across this sculpture. I'm not sure if it's an official sculpture start point, but there is a sculpture at the start. It's called the Wild Weed Spurge, created by Hilary Cartwell and Michael Johnson in 2001. This is a National Cycle Network, Route 67. And it goes points directly on. So we come to this footpath junction. Now there is 3 directions you could go, or actually 4. But we are going to take this gravelly track through the gate, looking at the signpost, Heanor and Shipley Park, Route 67, and the Erewash Valley Trail. Finally, we found what looks like the actual Nutbrook Trail. At this point, you've got an alternative of 2 choices. So you can either walk this trail for the time being, or there is a footpath alongside the canal. The only problem with what I've noticed so far seems to be more cyclists along that path than this one, even though I'm guessing this is actually meant to be the official cycle path. To our right is Toton Sidings. Quite a lot of commercial work happening here. There's a lot of gravel. Toton Sidings is a depot. Toton railway yards were built in 1856 when Toton was just a tiny village. Now one of the largest rail depots in the United Kingdom. Originally used for transportation of coal from the coal fields of Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire and Yorkshire to surrounding power stations. Through World War II, it was used for transportation of ordnance and equipment. Coal traffic reached its peak through the 1950s. This site is scheduled to be the proposed East Midlands hub station for HS2 line from London to Leeds, if that ever happens, and at what cost. Well, I decided to walk alongside the canal, and it is quite picturesque. I do think about these houses along here. I mean, back onto the canal, like this one's nice open space there. You get to sit out, looking over the canal, seeing wildlife going by. This is called Dockholm Lock, number 62. I just ended up talking to a guy from the River and Canals Trust, and he was trying to persuade me to buy a boat. That's something I've always thought about, maybe as a houseboat, but the problem of being so tall, boats aren't built for tall people, especially narrow boats, so it's the thing that's always put me off. So this is Bridge 8. This is Sandy Acre Lock. Now luckily there's a narrowboat about to come through here, opening the gate, ready for the boat to come through. You can see a little bit of restoration work happening at the Sandy Acre Lock buildings. These buildings probably look from about late 1700s to a Sandy Acre Lock cottage. See the water rising now, so we can see that it's getting close to the level at the top. The cottage stands on the junction with the old Derby Canal. It is the last remaining lock and toll house alongside the Erewash Canal. The toll house of the junction side of the cottage was also used by the Derby Canal Company until 1832. The Erewash Canal Preservation and Development Association now uses the Lock Cottage as its headquarters, and the cottage is often open on Sunday afternoons throughout the summer. Canals were once the main form of transport with a network of routes throughout the country, the equivalent of today's motorways. They allowed coal, iron and stone, the raw materials of the Industrial Revolution, to be transported easily and cheaply. The Erewash Canal was once one of the most prosperous canals in Britain, due to the abundance of trade from the local collieries, ironworks and brickworks. So after looking at that little dragonfly, if you noticed him, so I believe if going that way, the bridge will follow to Derby Canal. We're going to carry along the Erewash Canal for the time being, as we go through to Sandy Acre, and this area is actually called Padmore Moorings. So the iconic chimney that stands in front of us is part of Springfield Mill, which was built in 1888 as a lace factory. Unfortunately, about 3 or 4 years ago, they had a fire here, and as you can see by all the scaffolding, it's still being repaired. It has been converted into apartments now. Oh, we've got a swan in the track. Hopefully he's not going to hiss at me. Another boat we see that looks like it needs a bit of tender loving care. Danger, bathing prohibited. And what we're going to do now is walk up here for about 800 metres until we turn off towards the Nutbrook and heading on along the Route 67 National Cycle Route towards Shipley Park and Heanor, which is our final destination today. Stand and lock, number 65. Similar to the statue that we saw at the start of the trail, Wild Weeds Vetch, also done by Hilary Cartel and Michael Johnson in 2001. I just heard this water and I thought, well, let's take a look. I think it was a little weir, but actually it's an overspill, but what's coming out of it is red. So I don't know what that is. Obviously some pollution that's going in the main water stream. So the area that we're heading past now on our right hand side is Hallam Fields. It had its own colliery. The track that we're actually on now is part of the Stanton rail line. Hallam Fields and the Nutbrook collieries and also the Shipley collieries were all connected to the Stanton Ironworks. There's an interesting man on the right hand side. I don't know what he's doing. But we're just passing Kirk Hallam on our left, and I think we're heading towards Ilkeston, which will be coming up in the next mile, which will be on our right hand side. I've just finished the South Downs Way and the Pilgrims Way. Obviously the South Downs Way videos I've just brought out. Pilgrims Way is going to take a few more weeks because, you know me, I like my history, and there's quite a lot of history on that route, so eventually it'll come out, and when it does, hopefully it's going to be a good one. It was a great walk. I forgot to say, I also like to say thank you to every single one of you that subscribed. I thought when I reached 500 subscribers that was going to be as far as I got, and somehow or other we've hit over 750. So yes, our next goal is 1,000. So once we get to 1,000, I will sleep in the most haunted house in England, although I'm still struggling to find out what that one is. I found one that sounds quite interesting. It's believed to be a place where Anne Boleyn wanders around without a head. And also within it, there's a horse-drawn carriage. The carriagemen, they're like skeletons with top hats on. That sounds an interesting ghost to see. Maybe there's other places I could go to as well. Puick Carr Nature Reserve is a series of 6 settling ponds which take water which is pumped out of the old Shipley and Mapley colliery workings. One of the resident swans to the nature reserve was rescued by a wildlife sanctuary after a mink attacked it, but here it has returned, although with some battle wounds. The minks were brought in to reduce the overpopulated water voles in the area. Although we're passing the Pewick Car Nature Reserve at the moment, the actual route we're walking along is one long nature reserve. So if you want to find yourself in the middle of nature for 10 miles, then this is the perfect route to do it in. Which is one of the good things about the disused canals. Nature generally takes over, and with that comes fauna and flora. So still following the Nutbrook Canal, very calm here. Water's not as clear as I've seen in other places. So as we continue on the Nutbrook Trail, all of a sudden it started to get a little bit more busier with the odd cyclist. Now we are on Route 67, but it is a pedestrian and horse riders. We haven't seen any horses. Yes, a lot more cyclists. I think it's because it's late afternoon now, so I think a lot of people are finishing work and just getting on the bike and cycling on the track. We're also coming towards Shipley Country Park, which is quite a popular place for recreation activities. We best get there as well. So I've just left the Nutbrook Trail onto this grassy path. As the reason why is that the next probably about 400 metres you walk alongside the edge of a housing estate. But if you take this lane, mark it on the map, and turn left on the Nutbrook Trail, follow this down, and then it will take you to a path which will lead you back onto Nutbrook Trail as it leaves the housing estate. Walking along here, we follow it round. What we've got on our right hand side, you might be able to slightly hear the noise, but we've got the treatment pools. There's 6 treatment ponds, and they were built for the colliery. Water that comes from the mines, it's all sent over here, and it goes through a filtration plant, and it comes out as a cleaner product, pushed into the Nutbrook, cleaner water rather than the coal and residue from the mines. Now, as we get to the opposite end, we'll come to where Nutbrook Colliery was. Number 3 shaft remains at the site by these treatment ponds. It's still utilised as a mine water control pumping station, which is on the site of the former Nutbrook mine. We reach the Nutbrook Trail again. At this signpost, we're going to go and take a left. Lots of walking trails around here. There's also a hedgehog, a wooden sculpture of a hedgehog, and I'm sure there's going to be a few more of those along the way. Also there's a visitor centre at Shipley Country Park. Also some tea rooms as well. Oh, what a surprise. We've got a little, I think it's a mole here. Yeah, it is a mole. But even better, we've got a coffee shop. I think it's a snail. It could be a slug. You can see parts of the old colliery buildings over there with the colliery wheel. Shipley Country Park opened in 1976, while Shipley Lakeside, which sits to the west of the site, was designated for leisure development. The artificial lake was originally formed for Shipley Hall and was long and thin in a ribbon form. The lake progressively grew due to the excavation of the top layer of coal. The 2 coal seams were excavated after the completion of the underground mining, and prior to the Second World War, open cast mining commenced. The sites lay dormant and inaccessible for many years until the opening of Britannia Park in 1985, but the park was unsuccessful and closed after just a few months. The site was then sold and reopened as the American Adventure theme park in 1987, where it was home to the Nightmare Niagara log flume, the highest in the UK at that time. The park closed in 2007 and the site became redundant over time. It had to be cleared to stop vandalism and trespassing on the site. There's quite a few dragonflies here. I'm not sure if I'm picking them up on the camera. I hope so. Well, I don't think I've seen so many dragonflies in one little space before. And they're just hovering around this area. I'm hoping I'm picking them up on camera, but probably not. Probably missed them all. So I'm taking another deviation from the Nutbrook Trail. This way we're going to head up to Shipley Hall remains. Probably takes about 400 or 500 metres further, but you end back up on the Nutbrook Trail eventually. There has been a manor here since the 13th century. Sir Edward Lake in 1603 built a larger tall gabled house on the same site. In 1713 it was passed to his granddaughter Hester, who then married Edward Mundy of the Long Eaton family. Edward in 1749 then demolished the hall to make way for a grander building. The hall from then was enlarged and altered several times to look like a neoclassical hall. By 1895, the hall, now owned by Alfred Edward Miller Mundy, had additions built, including an Italian pergola and fountains walk to the estate. The Miller Mundys made their money from coal mining production, but this would be the downfall of Shipley Hall, as in 1922 Geoffrey Miller Mundy sold the estate to Shipley Colliery Company. Up until now, no mining had taken place under the estate buildings, but a huge pillar of coal had been left directly under the hall. That pillar was then mined, and sadly Shipley Hall fast began to suffer from major subsidence, to the point the hall had to be demolished in 1943. The estate was then purchased by Derbyshire County Council in the 1970s, who made the grounds into a country park. The building in front, now a residential home, but originally was the water tower to the hall. So heading back this way towards the lodge, you can see on the right hand side is probably the wall to the exterior of Shipley Hall. And this track here that leads away from the house going down the hill and continues this way was actually the old coachman's lane, which would have gone up to the house. Rejoin Nutbrook Trail. So we're going to continue this out of Shipley Country Park now. We're going to head towards Heanor. Do you think we might have to go this way? There's an arrow pointing that we should do. Oh, so we see some scarecrows. There's a bit of a grander one coming up. We've got Postman Bat with black and white cat. And they're coming down here. On the left hand side we have a traditional scarecrow, wheels or gummidge. And on the opposite side we have a female scarecrow. So that could be Unistub's Aunt Sally. By Joe, I think we're here. We've actually arrived at Hinagate. We're just continuing to walk along the path, and here we are. Like the start, there's no official point to say you've started the Nutbrook Trail or finished it. Unless you're looking at the map, you're not going to know it's actually here, apart from a few signposts along the way. So that's another one completed. With that, all I can say is that hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, please click the like, please add a comment and subscribe. So until next time, I'll just see you soon. So take care and bye-bye hikers.